Les Brown, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's always a treat when great people meet, Daniel.
Dude, I love your one-liners, man. I could literally just listen to all of your one-liners and that's it. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So first of all, before we came on here, we had a ton of technical difficulties. It literally took us an hour to sort it all out. And you know what's so impressive, Les, is you're as cool as a cucumber. Like, it doesn't faze you. And it's so refreshing to meet somebody that you just don't get angry. You don't you just go with the flow. It's okay. And that's huge. How do you do that? How do you get there?
Here's what we know, that a guy named Dimples had a song years ago, and I believe this: if it ain't one thing, it's another. This stuff is going to happen. Murphy's Law that says if anything can go wrong, it will, and at the worst possible moment. And what we must do is realize when things go wrong, don't go with them. That we must stand still, observe it, and work it out and find a way to win. And that's how I live my life. But I wasn't always like that. I had to grow to that level.
Tell me about the times when you struggled with that and how you managed to get to this place.
I'll never forget. It's interesting. No one has ever asked me that before, Daniel. First, I want to thank you to imagine the number of people whose lives that you are touching and changing because of the commitment that you've decided to do with this programming. Because how we live our lives is a result of the story we believe about ourselves. And what you do is expand a person's vision through the interviews that you have with various guests and help them begin to see themselves beyond their mental conditioning and their circumstances, and understand that they can grow beyond their conditioned and habitual mindset, which controls their behavior. I was doing a presentation, and the guy handling the PA system kept playing with the system. And I said, "Sir, why don't you just set it and leave it there?" That was not enough for him. He kept doing it. And the feedback affected not just me, but it affected the audience. And I said, "Man, if you would just leave it alone." And he just ignored me. And I never did this before. I got so angry. I threw the microphone down. And so the host, which was one of the guys that I trained, he ran up to me and he said, "Mr. Brown?" I said, "Yes, Johnny." His name is Johnny Wembry. He said, "You taught me when things go wrong, don't go with me." He said, "Don't go with them." He said, "You just with them. You just went with them." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, you're bringing that to my attention. You brought me back." Okay. I said, "Pass me the microphone."
Wow. That
interrupted my thinking. Anger is a wind that blows out the lamp of the mind. And I teach that. And so he brought me back. When Jesus went among the disciples and he went in the room and started tearing it up because they're in there playing cards and doing all kind of things that many times drop out of level of consciousness and forget to do the things that we know. And not practice what we preach. I believe that don't practice what you preach what you practice. And we all lose it sometimes, but I don't make a habit of doing it. I work hard. We've got to be very mindful of how we live our lives and the things that we do and how we conduct ourselves and hold ourselves to a higher standard, not just be a messenger, but be the message behind the message.
What's incredible, Les, is your your sense of humor and your positivity. You have such an incredible... I mean, if somebody called me out or somebody else out when I'm in a state of anger, that would just make me more angry. The fact that you held it together and then realized, oh, wait, I just lost it. I dropped out of consciousness and came back. Like, the way that you see how fit somebody is physically is their recovery rate. It's how fast do they recover after they do the physical activity. And the same thing with spirituality. The faster that you're able to bounce back, that's how fit you are spiritually. And you're so fit. Like, to be able to just within a second just bounce back after being in a state of anger, that's incredible.
You know, I don't find that incredible. Let me tell you what I found incredible.
Yeah.
When an oncologist, and I appreciate the compliment, my oncologist, who had a weird sense of humor, Dr. Alfred Golson, he looked at me and said, "Mr. Brown?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You have prostate cancer, and it has metastasized to 7 areas of your body, and it's 4th stage." I said, "Well, can you give me a second opinion?" He said, "Yes." He said, "And you're ugly, too." I said, "Oh, my God." And we both cracked up. So
oh, my goodness.
Dr. Albert Golson, man, you are weird. He said, "Well, you know, I heard you say that we determine the diagnosis, but God determines the prognosis. I heard your daughter say that to you. And so let's live from that place." I said, "Thank you very kindly." And so I did recover from that very well, but I didn't like the fact that he said that I was ugly.
Wow. How did you get through that? I mean, that's a bombshell. Like, how do you get back from that?
You know, Shakespeare said nothing is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. And so my mindset, because I had my daughter with me, my mindset was, I got this, because she believed that doctors should never tell someone they're terminally ill. What they should say is that my knowledge and ability to help you has terminated. Now you need to explore some other options to get you through this experience. And that's where I stepped to that place, that I'm not denying what you've said, but I'm being defiant, and I'm going to fight this. You know, there's a quote that I love very much, that life is a fight for territory. And once you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want will automatically take over. And so we have to begin to always know that there will always be something that we have to fight, something that we have to deal with, and fight a good fight, because life is about a constant struggle, that in this thing called life, you're either in a problem, or you just left one, or you're headed toward one.
Oh, God. How old are you, by the way? Because you look...
I am 75.
Really, I can't believe... I mean, it's unbelievable. How do you stay so young looking?
Well, I use mascara to cover my gray.
Oh, my goodness.
And I live a life. I'm happy. I'm a happy person. You know, a doctor named Norman Cousins, he wrote a book called The Anatomy of Illness. And he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And he watched a lot of old movies. I Love Lucy, Lucille Ball and Ricky Ricardo, and funny things that made him laugh. And what they discovered, that laughter, some people call it inner jogging. And there's a body of medicine called psychoneuroimmunology, psycho, the mind, neuro, the nervous system, immunology, the immune system. That laughter has a healing balm. It's a healing medicine. And so that 1 minute of anger weakens the immune system for 4 to 5 hours. But 1 minute of laughter boosts your immune system for over 24 hours. So those who are listening now, after they get through listening to you and I, they won't get sick for 40 years.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting is you don't come from a happy upbringing. You know, I heard your story of some of the things that happened to you when you were a boy, and you would think that trauma would stay with you. You know, I mean, if you don't mind, could you share the story about when your own mother beat you? Because that was to me, I was shocked.
Well, I was born in an abandoned building on a floor in a poor section in Miami, Florida called Liberty City. And my twin brother and I, we were adopted by Mrs. Mamie Brown. I always say I'm here because of two women. One gave me life and the other one gave me love. That all that I am, as Abraham Lincoln would say, and all that I ever hoped to be, I owe to my mother. And being raised in the South, the segregated South, there were things that we could do and things that we could not do. And I'll never forget, I was about 5 years old. I was with my mother in downtown Miami, and I was like 95 degrees, and I saw this water fountain, and I ran up to the water fountain and started drinking from it. And my mother grabbed me, and she started beating me like I was a man, punched me in the back of my head and in my face, and had this crazed look in her eyes. And I said, "Mama, it's me, it's me, it's me." And then a white police officer came and said, "Okay, you can stop beating that little nigger boy now." And he was hitting a nightstick in his hand. And he walked away laughing. And my mother then picked me up, and she was crying, and she said, "Leslie, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I said, "Mama, why did you beat me like that?" She said, "Had that white policeman hit you, he would have had to kill me, and I would have left you and your brothers and sisters to fend for yourself." Unbeknownst to me, during that time, they had white water fountains and black water fountains. So if you're a black person and you drank from a white water fountain for white people only, then police officers, they had the right to shoot you or to beat you if you were black. And so she wanted to prevent me from being beaten. When I came up, I used to work with a guy named Sam Axelrod, and we used to go on Miami Beach. And they had signs on Miami Beach that said Jews, dogs, and coloreds not allowed. And I remember asking Sam, I said, "Sam, why do they hate us like they do?" He said, "I don't know, Leslie." He said, "But don't focus on that. Focus on trying to find a way to win." And he was one of my early mentors, along with Mr. Leroy Washington, who taught me that someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Because I failed in the 5th grade and was put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade, and I was labeled educable mentally retarded. And he said, "Mr. Brown," he never, ever called me just Leslie, "Mr. Brown. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Develop your mind. Develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And practice OQP, only quality people. If you run around with losers, you will end up a loser." And that early coaching from Mr. Washington and Sam Axelrod helped me to begin to develop a sense of purpose and vision for my life, and helped me to come from a place of poverty to live from my imagination. Einstein said the imagination is a preview of what's to come. And so I speak to audiences around the world, and I teach them to live out of their imagination, not from their history, that they can do more than they can ever begin to imagine, and that at any point in time, as Viktor Frankl said in his book, The Man's Search for Meaning, at any point in time, that we have the power to determine what direction that we're going to take our lives in.
Wow. What keeps you going, though? I mean, most people in their 70s, they kind of decide, okay, I've had enough. I'm retiring now. Let me relax. And, and then you've got the money, Les. I'm sure you've made enough money to be able to put up the bag and put your feet up on a hammock on a beach somewhere and just, enjoy the rest of the life.
Something that Sam taught me years ago, and I really adhere to that. He said, "Do what you love." He said, "You were not born to work for a living, but to live your making. And living your making will make your living." I love to help people. And when he asked me, "What is it you like to do?" I said, "I like to help people." And he said, then do that. He said, find a way to monetize your passion. Find a way to earn money doing that which you love. And so what he also built in my mind, that people want to retire from things that they find to be work. But when you're doing what you love to do, and I believe that I was born to speak and to train speakers, that you never want to stop doing this, and that it keeps you young. I laugh a lot. I'm living a purpose-driven life rather than a fear-driven life. And I'm living life on my terms. I believe what Elsie Robinson said, things may happen around you and things may happen to you, but the only things that really count are the things that happen in you.
Mm. Are you in a relationship right now?
Yes. And we have a lot of fun together. I believe that relationships are something that you grow and you learn, and it helps you to begin to see yourself in another person. And in that relationship, you learn how to bring out the best in each other. Yes, I'm not married, but I am in a relationship.
Oh, interesting. And how do you, there's a lot of, in today's society and generation, there's a lack of commitment, right? There's a lot of people who are not being faithful and sort of being drawn after, forbidden fruit. How have you sort of maintained your commitments to your relationships?
In my early years, I would say that was a struggle. But I'm at this point in my life, I'm like the lady who said, Lord, I ain't what I want to be, ain't what I'm going to be, but thank God I sure ain't what I was. So I am committed. There's a difference between being committed to a relationship and being involved in a relationship. The next time you have bacon and eggs, look at it. The chicken was involved. The pig was committed.
I can't have bacon. I'm Orthodox Jewish, so I don't eat.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate that. So you should be celebrating Shabbat. But
yeah. I did celebrate Shabbat. This is now the night time, so it's after Shabbat.
Oh, excellent. Okay. So the pig though had to give it all up. So when you are in love and you know who you are and you want to live a life of truth and live from that place, you're willing to, and you know what your purpose is for life, that narrows your choices, and you give up the behaviors that you once were engaged in, and it begins to narrow your choices. That's why the Book of Life says, the road to life is straight and narrow, and few there be that find it. Because few there be that are willing to discipline themselves and honor their commitments to live a life of truth and to live from a place of integrity. And so this level of consciousness, I have 10 children, 5 boys and 5 girls. I'm suing the people who came up with the concept of the rhythm method. The rhythm method does not work. I have rhythm.
What's the rhythm method? I'm scared to ask.
Millennium. You are too young to know that. This is the family program. So continue, please.
Okay. Who were some of your greatest mentors along the way?
Mr. Leroy Washington, he was a speech and drama teacher at my high school. He became, to me, unbeknownst to him, like a spiritual father. Sam Axelrod, who I worked for his company, and he taught me the appreciation of words. I promised him when I became an adult I would take him to Poland, and he lost family members during Auschwitz and in the German concentration camps, and he died, but I went anyhow and honored him, went to the Wailing Wall and left a flower there and toured various sites in Poland when I was there.
My grandfather was in Auschwitz.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah.
And he taught me the slogan, what it meant, never again. He taught me stand up for what you believe in because you can fall for anything. He taught me the value of words, of believing in something that gives your life a sense of value and meaning. and being willing to risk it all for that. And Nietzsche said that if you know the why for living, you can endure almost anyhow. And he helped me to realize the reason why I'm here. And he said, in quoting something that Jim Rohn said, that when you live your life, he said you can live it, it can be a warning or it can be an example, a warning of what not to do or an example of what to do because of the standards that you hold yourself to and how you live your life.
Mm. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you notice that because of technology, a lot of people are kind of disconnected? How do you? I have 5 kids myself, and it's difficult to get them away from the iPhones and the iPads and technology, and it's so addictive, and it's really difficult to pull them away and to get them back to life. Life is a beautiful place to live in. Why are we escaping into technology?
This is the new challenge we have, and we don't have the answers for this now. It's challenging. One of the things that I do when I'm with my kids, that when we eat together, we have an agreement. We don't bring the telephone to the table. That when we spend time together, all phones must go off. That you have to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to create an atmosphere of communication. We have more communication instruments than ever before, and there's less communication. And so we have to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort. We have to have standards, ground rules, that when we're together, we will be together and be present with each other.
I love that. Do you have like a ritual at the beginning or at the end of the day to prepare you for the day or to get you in the right mindset?
Yes, when I get up in the morning and before I go to sleep at night, there's a scripture that I quote: all things work together for good for those who love God and for those who are called according to his purpose. And so in the morning, I wake up with that. And I review the things that I have written down the night before of what I want to get out of the day. And I write down 7 things that I'm grateful for. 7 things that I'm so thankful. Number 1, that I have life, that life is God's gift to us, and how we live our lives is our gift to God. I'm thankful for my children, and I'm thankful for the ability to speak and to serve God, to be an instrument of giving people hope, and there's hope in the future that gives you power in the present. I'm thankful for my health and the things that I'm learning about this thing called life. I'm thankful for creating a new chapter with my life, that I'm not the person that I once was, that I have become a new person, that I've died to who I've been to give birth to this new person that I have become, and working every day to stay on this path. So that's the ritual that I go through, writing down 7 things that I'm thankful for, reading scripture, reading the Kabbalah, reading the Bible, reading things that inspire me, listening to inspiring music, and thinking about the things that I am creating for the agenda for my life. Because if you don't have an agenda for your life, you'll be a part of somebody else's agenda.
I love that. And you've spoken all over the world on many, 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 many stages. And
yes,
it's something that I have aspired to do. I want to be a motivational speaker. I'd love to be able to speak on stages around the world. But I just get overwhelmed. And when I see people like yourself or Tony Robbins or any of these other, big motivational speakers, I feel like, who am I to get up on the stage? Like, I'm not good enough. I mean, I know that it's a thought, and I know that it's just a bad record playing in my head. But I think everybody has these bad records that play that just kind of say we're not good enough to do what we want to do. How do you break those records?
Daniel, I'm so glad you asked that question. I identify with that because for 14 years, Daniel, I did not do what I'm doing. For 14 years, I convinced myself. There's an African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. I said to myself, Les, you're adopted. Who wants to listen to you? You don't know who your birth parents are. Les, you were labeled educable mentally retarded. Les, you don't have a college education. Les, you never worked for a major corporation. Who's going to pay you? AT&T, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, IBM, Xerox. These are some of my clients. Who's going to pay you to teach them how to do something you've never done? So because I allowed that negative thought to be dominant in my mind that I wasn't good enough, I sat on the sideline for 14 years watching other speakers. And then I heard a speaker say on stage, he stopped in the middle of his presentation. He said, there's somebody here who should be up here holding this microphone, but you convince yourself that you can't do it, that you're not qualified, that you don't have what it takes. And then he went on to speak. And then he stopped again. He said, there's somebody here, and you know who you are. You should be up here changing lives. You feel it in your heart. It's a calling on your life, but you've stopped yourself with this negative conversation, this racket that's going on in your mind. And he said, I'm going to say this to you, and you know who you are, and I'm through with this. This just dropped on me. He said, I represent the thoughts you have rejected for yourself. And when he said that, Daniel, I got up. At that time, you can make a telephone call for a dime. And I ran outside and I went to a payphone booth, and I called Mike Williams, my mentor. He's the author of the book, The Road to Your Best Stuff. I wrote the foreword for it, The Road to Your Best Stuff. And I said, Mike, and he said, Brownie, what's wrong? I said, I'm not rejecting myself anymore. Do you hear me? He said, calm down. I said, no, I'm not rejecting myself anymore. I said, will you help me? And he said, yes. And I teach, Daniel, ask for help, not because you're weak, but because you want to remain strong. And ask for help and don't stop until you get it. And so he helped me to get out of my head living that fear-driven life, what Zig Ziglar called it, false evidence appearing real, and start living from my faith, finding answers in the heart. And the rest is history, and I'm so glad that he helped me to deliver myself from living that life that allowed me to be possessed by fear. What you have is enough. You have a passion. You have a drive to change people's lives, and you've already done that. And there's something in you. Life is calling you higher. Remember the Lion King? He said, Simba, you are more than that which you have become. Daniel, you are more than that which you have become. And now it's time for you to be on stages all around the world. And I teach and train speakers. So they said coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. So come, allow me to be your mentor, and I can help you go to the next level in a fraction of the time that it took me.
Wow. I'm honored, really.
Yes.
That's incredible. How can the listeners here, how can they get in touch? Any way they can follow you or find your material?
Well, they can email me at lesbrown77@gmail.com. That's 2 sevens. lesbrown77@gmail.com. 7 is my lucky number. And we will send out information, and my website is lesbrown.com.
Not many people give out their email, especially on a podcast publicly, because you get flooded.
I do, because I want to screen the people myself. My staff, they help me, but I want to know who it is, because I don't work with everybody. At this stage of my life, my daughter said I'm 75. I'm 75. I want to be selective to work with people that are hungry and that want to do something special with their lives. Yes.
That's incredible. Well, Les, this has been amazing. I'm so honored and blessed to have had you on the show. Telling anybody listening to this, take advantage. Les is around right now. He's more alive than most people that you'll